Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. I wanted to back up a second too and talk about it. You mentioned dball and test and dball, why people always do these stupid beginner cycles of test and dball. It is probably the dumbest thing you could do.
I just don't know why you would overload your estrogen like that, right? So you already have the estrogen production from testosterone, right, which you're clearly covered with. The 17 methyl estradiol that's produced from dball is not bioidentical, and it's pretty liver toxic. Dball's liver toxic on its own, right? And from my experience, anything you gain on dball goes right away as soon as you stop the dball.
Yeah, it just goes away.
Doesn't want things really fast, right?
Yeah, it's people, they just want to see the scale move up. They get hyper focused on the scale. And what I've seen is when you are a beginner and you run test and dball side by side, that you're just going to be an estrogen bomb. And it's a recipe for growing titties, making your blood pressure go through the roof, being bloated mess, and having a bunch of acne from your hormones being all out of whack.
It doesn't make any sense.
So the whole front loading your first cycle or even running, I just even think running dball with testosterone is probably dumb.
No, 100%. You're literally, those are the only two that actually really aromatize to estrogen. Yeah. Why would you double up on those? There's a million other vectors you could pick from. Why wouldn't you, if you really insisted on two compounds, why wouldn't you run a DHT or 19-NOR?
Yeah, it makes zero sense to stay because it's the old test deca dball combo that people get obsessed with.
Yeah, but again, that's not even the original combo, right? It was deca primo and dball.
Deca primo and dball, right?
And then, because people then thought primo was weak, so they dropped that, added test to it, and then blew up with estrogen for no reason.
Yeah, and you can spot those guys a mile away. I'll see them at the gym. They just look horrible. They have that Stay Puft Marshmallow Man look. So it's just really, 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 really dumb to stack tests with dball. If you wanted to, so we talked about it earlier, the nandrolone only cycles, that's when they would run dball. Then it makes sense.
Yeah, but even back then they weren't using 50 milligrams, right? Most of them, they're probably using 20 milligrams.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that was the rumor with the old Arnold Schwarzenegger cycles. I think we talked about it on another video, 20 milligrams of dball with 100 milligrams of primo. Yeah, that was the rumor of what I guess the advantage of the dball is if you have issues with estrogen, you can titrate up and down quickly.
You could. I think it's a silly method to use, right? Nowadays, it'd be better, safer.
Yeah, the safer approach.
Dball's pretty much an obsolete drug as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't see any value in using it. The only exception, and we talked about it before, is and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I have seen some guys that just do not convert testosterone to estrogen. It's really weird, but it seems like dball is helpful in that situation.
Yeah, because I think the 17 methyl estradiol is much stronger.
Right. But they're very extreme outliers. Like I coach hundreds of people.
Of your guys?
Less than 1%. Like I go through hundreds of people. I probably coach a couple hundred people a year, and I look at blood work 2-3 times a year for those people, and I've seen maybe one person, 2 people like that a year.
Naturally, it's crushed.
It's just natural. You'll see a guy that just naturally they'll have like an 8 estradiol, but that's an extreme outlier. And I tell
tend to be leaner, right? Small, like thinner.
Yeah,
leaner.
It's usually the super skinny, super lean guy.
Yep. I have a client like that. He competes, and he's always struggled with weight. And we looked at his labs. His estradiol was like
it's always those guys. But if you have any body fat on you at all and you're pushing testosterone doses up with dball, you're just asking to grow titties.
Yeah, really fast too, like overnight. They come on fast.
Well, that's what happened to me. My very first cycle, I've always been sort of a high estrogen converter, not so much now. But my very first cycle was a dball only cycle when I was in college. And I almost instantly, within weeks, I had gyno.
Yeah. And you probably woke up with it, right? You went to sleep fine, and
yeah, it was within a couple of weeks. I had a lump under both of my nipples, and eventually got my gyno surgery. I have pictures of it, but it was the size of a fried egg. Yeah. By the time I got it taken out, it was gigantic. Yeah. But I can always spot the guys that have those issues. So if you are carrying any body fat, you have any propensity to have high estradiol. It is really dumb to run dball with your testosterone. It's such an outlier. I don't even think you should even consider it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned front loading before too, right? Because that's kind of what these guys are trying to do.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
I wouldn't personally, on a side note, I wouldn't personally front load any drug. I don't know where that thing with EQ came from. That's a great way to crash your estrogen too.
Right.
So, why don't you start with 1,200 milligrams of EQ in the first 2 days and then see what happens to yourself, right? And then these guys, you'll get an email that they're paranoid, right? And they feel like horrible.
Yeah.
From doing stuff like that.
Yeah, that's where the people talk about the anxiety from EQ. That's probably where it comes from.
Yeah. Yep.
It's from crushing their estrogen.